As I said, welcome to our email. To our webinar. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Everyone has been muted, so if you have any questions, please type them into the question box. We will be having a question and answer session at the end of the webinar. This webinar is being recorded, and the WSI consultant or a staff member that referred you to this webinar will provide you with the recording afterwards. So joining me to present and talk about email marketing, and specifically some best practices you should follow when using email as a part of your overall marketing strategy, is Cheryl Baldwin, Director of Marketing Communications at WSI's corporate head office located in Toronto, Canada. Cheryl has worked in the digital marketing industry with WSI for the last 10 years, and during that time has leveraged email marketing for everything from lead generation to customer retention to customer engagement for a global brand. She is also the author of the email marketing chapter in WSI's book called Digital Minds, 12 Things Every Business Needs to Know About Digital Marketing. I know Cheryl has a lot of great information to share on email marketing today, so without further ado, I'll pass it over to Cheryl.
Great, thanks Leanna. So welcome again everyone. I hope everyone's ready to learn about email marketing today. It's a topic I work with in day out, so hopefully it's exciting to you as it is to me. Here's a quick look at what I'll be covering. Essentially, I'm going to share kind of 5 of my confessions or best practices on help to boost your email marketing efforts. So I'll be talking about list building, segmentation, conversion tips, mobile-friendly email, and database nurturing. I also have a little bit of a bonus confession at the end that I'll talk a little bit about as well with regards to having that great email marketing tool. So before we get into how you can optimize your email marketing efforts, I just want to make sure everyone on this webinar is on the same page where the value of email marketing is concerned. You know, unfortunately, email marketing to some have received a bad rep over the years, mainly because it's been abused by people that just don't know how to use it properly. And so when people hear the words email or email marketing, unfortunately terms like junk mail and spam automatically come to mind first, instead of things like client relationships and brand loyalty. The good news is, however, that when it comes to your customers and your email marketing efforts, by leveraging some of the techniques I'll be going over in this webinar, you can ensure your campaigns are seen as anything but unwanted communications. So let's start off with my first confession. It's all about the list. The success of your email marketing strategy is directly connected to the quality of your contact database. The more people on your list that have opted in to hear about your products and services, the better your response rate and the higher your conversion will be. And so while there are a number of easy ways to get your hands on lists of emails these days, I'm sure you probably get emails about getting email lists from people. The best way to really ensure you collect quality information is to obtain it with permission directly from the contact. So let's go over some of the many different ways you can build your database. So if you're at your office or your place of work, essentially the biggest one here is just to ask for it. I mean, it may seem obvious, but it's because it's such a simple strategy that it's sometimes overlooked. I find for myself when I'm out and about that retailers especially are really good at asking for my email when I'm out and shopping in their stores. And that's because they've just built it as part of their overall checkout process. So I go through, and as I'm giving and learning how to pay for my purchase, they ask me if I want to be on their email list. And I mean, for me, sharing my email is a really easy thing to do, and it's really a painless process when it's built into that overall experience when you're shopping. And you'd probably be really surprised how many people like myself will share their email with you when it is part of that overall process. Also, having incentive programs in place like contests or promotions are obviously another great way to entice people. And I wouldn't necessarily limit contests to just your customers. You can definitely be running contests and incentive programs with your employees and staff members as well to see who can grab the most emails from the customers, so they also ensure that it's part of the overall process too. So if you're online and using social media, you want to make sure that you ask your fans and followers to sign up for your email list by providing a link to your subscribe form on your social profiles. You should use your latest newsletter and the content from your emails as one of your social updates to let everyone see the great content you're sending on a regular basis. And this can definitely be done via a blog or any other social profiles you have. And if you do manage a blog, be sure to include a link to subscribe to your email list after each post. So there's always that call to action. And basically, essentially, anywhere that you're online, you should be reminding people to subscribe to your email list. So when you're at events in the field or networking, these are really great opportunities to connect with people face-to-face and show your expertise. And so it's also a really great way to gather their email or their business card as well. If you're at a trade show, for example, make sure you always have a sign-up sheet at your table to collect emails, or, general best practice is to have that fishbowl there to collect business cards as part of a draw. You can also use things like text to join or scan to join features via short codes or QR codes to make it easy for people to subscribe to your list using their mobile device right on the spot. When it comes to your email newsletters, you want to make the ability for your subscribers to easily share and recommend your content really easy. We all know that the option or the opinion of a family or friend can greatly influence the purchasing habits of a person, and this rings true for subscribing to email newsletters as well. So using a simple forward to friends feature can definitely help you turn your readers into your newsletter promoters as well. So confession number 2. So segmentation is gold. So now that you have this great quality list, what are you going to do with it? I mean, email marketing, hopefully you know, is much more than sending out a mass message to your whole list. The next thing I would do is definitely figure out what type of email marketing campaigns I wanted to run, and then segment my list based on this. So what classifies as an email segment? Well, by definition, a segment is a group of individuals with similar interests. When it comes to email, this is further defined as a group of contacts with similar interests in your products or services, which you have created based on specific criteria. For example, I'm going to show you just a couple of emails that I've received where the companies have used information they know about me to send me a specific message. So in this first example, I received a newsletter from Netflix, which I subscribed to their monthly service. And they sent me a message to let me know that the latest season of a TV show called Bones has been added to their site. The reason why I received this message is because they know from my viewing habits on their site that I've watched all the previous seasons of Bones through Netflix. And so, while they already have me as a subscriber to their service, it's to their advantage to let me know that they've added more episodes to TV shows and other movies that may fit into my interest category, so that I continue to be a satisfied customer of theirs and continue to pay their monthly hosting or their monthly subscription fee. In this next example, this is an email I received from Carnival. And as you can see here, it was sent to me because, well, one, I live in Canada, and you can see that here this promotion is all about a Canadian residence sale. I've also traveled with Carnival before, so they were able to capture that detail from me and know that. So this, to them, I'm a real big prime candidate in the fact that I've traveled with them before and I live in Canada for this special promotion that they're doing. And because both of these emails are relevant to my interest and or location, they instantly resonated with me a little more than a generic newsletter would. And so, I mean, there's a number of different ways you can be segmenting your list, and we're going to go through that right now. I'm going to share just 7 kind of off the top of my head, kind of the main things that you can be segmenting on. This is not an exhaustive list. There's definitely ways you could drill this down even further to within this 7 as well. But the first one that I want to talk about is the standard one, which is demographics. And really what I'm talking about here is gender, age, place of residence, could be marital status, or any other socioeconomic factors such as, earning income and that sort of stuff. I would definitely be segmenting based on their interest-based preferences. So if you've conducted any sort of research on your database through surveys, then you know certain subscribers have different interests that could help you identify what type of offers and information related to your products and services they'd be more likely to engage with. And depending on how you've had them subscribe, you can actually capture some of these details at the subscription part, or always go back out to your email list and have them share these additional details to you so you can further segment this way. Customer status is another great one. So when a subscriber becomes an actual customer, because you are going to have your database full of people that haven't yet purchased from you, and then people that have, I would definitely move these people over to a different list, and they're not part of your overall list. That way you can, they can receive emails that are designed specifically for them on possibly purchasing additional things related to services they've purchased before, which really directly goes into the whole idea of connecting on a product line purchase level, which is one of my number 5 listings here, so I'll talk about that a little bit. Right now, though, click-through rate. So if subscribers have opened your email newsletter or clicked a link on a frequent basis, that's a good indication that they're a little bit more engaged than maybe some of your other users. So you may want to segment that and just see about how you message to them directly and give them some incentives on offers that you're doing since they are so engaged with your brand. Again, relating to customer status, the actual product purchasing behavior. So if your company has a vast product line, it might be a good idea to address your subscribers based on the product line they purchased and give them information related to that product line. And I mean, it doesn't always have to be something to keep upselling them. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that's what you want to do, but you could always reinforce that via information and training or Q&A type of emails that help them to understand that you're the expert in that field and kind of always revisit your brand when it comes to purchasing other accessories or products within that specific line they had purchased before. Average sale price is one I've seen, so you could take a look at the past purchases of a subscriber. Those who have spent less than a certain amount could receive a different information and be spoken to differently than your higher spending customers. And I think this really kind of takes me into the whole VIP customer idea. These are people that you should definitely be remembering, should be acknowledging and giving special attention to. These would be the guys that I definitely send exclusive offers and information to, aside from the rest of your database, to kind of show them that you appreciate them as being a VIP customer of yours. So again, there's many different ways, and within each of these you could further segment, but these are quick 7 that you could definitely start with right away. Okay, so you've got your email list. You've segmented that list based on the campaigns you want to run. Now it's time to compose your message, and this is where confession number 3 comes in. Small improvements can mean big rewards. There are really a number of little things that you could be doing to help improve the response rate on your messages and make them more enjoyable for your subscribers to read. So when it comes to increasing email conversions, I'm going to share a couple of tips for you to consider that you can action pretty easily. So the first here is more around the design aspect, and this is kind of an overall design tip with, just not email related. But really, it's don't underestimate the impact of white space and that it can have with your design. So, as we scan through the hundreds of emails we all get each day, white space in a newsletter template really can help your readers focus on what it is that you want them to learn about or take action on. Because for the most part, I think they'll just kind of do an initial scan, and if something jumps out at them, then they'll really kind of engage with that newsletter a little bit more. You can see from the example I have on the screen here, this is actually a newsletter from Apple, and what they've done is, they've got other colored elements within their newsletter, but they've put kind of their main kind of action items that they would want us to, or myself, to take action on right in the middle in that white space area. So kind of when I do a scan, my eyes kind of land and hit that a little bit more immediate than the other areas. So that's a great example of how you could be using white space to highlight specific focuses in your newsletter. So number 2, I mean, make sure you have a clear call to action. I think this is a pretty standard one, but you'd be surprised at how unclear sometimes call to actions are on the emails that I'm sure you get. I know that I get every day. So, so basically, if say you're email marketing, you're emailing to me, you've just sent me an email about your latest promotion. Great. It's intrigued me enough that I want to contact you about it, but either you haven't made it clear that what you want me to do, or another problem is you have too many call to actions going on that I can't concentrate on one. So really what I end up doing is kind of just disregarding everything altogether and not doing anything at all. So this email here showcases, it's a great showcase of the promotion that they have going on. And right as I'm reading through, right down, it really directs me right into that call to action that they want me to do, which is obviously to book a room at this special promo rate that they have. So here's a great example of that. So a third tip to increase conversions is really like to humanize your message, and you can do that through humor is a great way. Giving your messages some personality and making them seem like they're actually being sent from a human can really go a long way to boosting your response rates. Marketing messages can easily get lost in how noisy the world is out there, and creative humor is a really effective measure that can cut through that noise and add value if done consistently and appropriately. Humor is something that can be done easily and implemented easily, but I think some people may find it difficult to execute effectively, so you just have to make sure that you use it as effectively as possible in considering your audience type. So the humor used in your content should create an emotional connection. It should make your reader feel closer to your company. When using humor, keep in mind, again, who your audience is. Will they understand what you're trying to say? And if it's relevant to your company and what you're talking about. So here are a couple examples I found of how companies use humor to connect with their readers using Gmail and the new changes to their inbox setup. So, kind of a tactful way of doing it, but a creative way. So it kind of makes you pay attention and engage a little bit more with the message that they're sending here. So this leads us into a fourth tip, which is really, it's okay to show your customers how much you know about them. If you have done a good job of asking your customers for their information, you should have a pretty good database you can pull from to help personalize your messages to your readers and show them that you actually know about them and, as a result, care about them. Whether it's using their name or their company name if you're a B2B, like you see in the example on the left here, that's a kind of a standard way of showing some personalized details there. Or if it's a specific message around information you know about them. We see that a lot with, happy birthday emails from the companies and brands you're engaging with, and promotions specifically around that. And again, you'd really think that this would be a widely used strategy since research shows personalized email messages really do outperform generic ones. But according to a study conducted by IGL1 earlier this year, 52% of marketers don't differentiate email content by customer, which means that, 52%, I find that a little bit high, but the good news there is that there's a lot of opportunity for you to stand out from your competition and start doing this and really fall into that 48% that do it. Okay, tip 5, don't be afraid to test your creativity. essentially one of the great features of email marketing is that you can conduct A/B testing on your messages and send out some of your more creative messages or test out just some of the elements within your message to just a portion of your list to see if they would garner a higher conversion rate over your other message that you sent out. Email is super measurable, and because of that, testing is really one of the great ways that you can really hone in and find out how you can go about boosting conversions in your messaging. So if you aren't doing testing, I encourage you to kind of take a step back and take a look at where you could start doing this, because you probably aren't really using email marketing to its full potential if you aren't. Here I'm going to share some quick ideas on where you could do it. You know, there's obviously some that might be more labor intensive, but there's some really quick ways that you can be doing testing. The first could be as simple as subject line, and that could be that you have your one list of people that you're hitting your campaign with, and group A gets a certain subject line, and then group B gets a slightly different subject line, and you could see how that tests out. So, you know, for example, I mean, you could be saying, you know, product XYZ is on sale, blah, 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 or instead you could say it in a different manner and say, you know, rather than sale, you could just use different terminology. So whether that's, you know, there's a savings or there's a discount or whatnot, there's different ways you could be testing your subject line there. Call to action is a great thing to test as well. So, and that could be, again, just in how you're presenting what it is you want them to do and take action on, and what resonates with them more. So, you know, rather than maybe specifically going out and asking them to purchase your product right now, maybe you do it in a slightly, you know, different way, and it's more, you know, please see, like, you know, see what we have going on, see the latest, hear what people are saying about this new product, and seeing how that could garner a different conversion rate on what you're currently doing. The layout of the message definitely can be something you test. So whether you use a single column layout versus 2-column, or even just different placement of elements within the email itself. Again, personalization is definitely something that you can be testing to see if it's going to resonate and affect your response rates with your database. Obviously, you can be testing your email copy, and that could include just changing up the headline that they initially hit when they read the email. It could be you are going to just change how you close the email and really drive them to that clear call to action, or it could be the whole body text itself written slightly differently and how you include different elements into that. So one email could be talking about your product and not include any testimonials on that product and really just talk about the overall features and benefits. But that other email could really bring in maybe the customer's viewpoint on how they use that product and include some of those testimonials and see how people resonate between those different messages. Images, of course, is always something that can be tested. Images are a big part of how people respond to email messages, so it's definitely something that you could be testing on. And definitely your offer and how you present that offer to the customer, or, you know, if you've got a product to push that you want to get off the line, is the better way to, and say you're a retail company, you have a specific product that has a lot of stock, is the offer that you're going to offer a discount on the product, or is the offer that you're going to offer free shipping on the product? So you could do different ways of how you would actually kind of move that promotion across. So as a final tip here on increasing conversions, I've kind of left this one here at the end specifically because it is one of the biggest and most important parts of your email, and that's the subject line. So, you know, you really want to lead with a great subject line. And even though it is the shortest part of your email, again, it is the first piece of content that people initially see when an email comes through, which is why it's so important. And I mean, too often I think people sometimes will get wrapped up in really concentrating and really writing on the body of text of their email, which is good, you should be concentrating on that and delivering a good message there. But then you put it into your email system, and then, oh my God, you see this field for subject line, and you're like, oh, what subject line am I going to make up today? When really there should be a lot more thought put into it than that. It's not really something you should rush or see as an afterthought. So you just want to make sure, because you put a lot of good time and effort into honing in on that email message, but if your subject line isn't going to get someone to read it, then really, unfortunately, you know, all that time and effort you put into your message could be wasted on your readers. So here are a few best practices to consider when crafting your subject lines. So be short, specific, and to the point. You know, this can be quite a feat. I mean, really general best practice and rule of thumb here is that your subject line should be no longer than 40 to 50 characters in length. And I think that's why sometimes headline writing and subject line writing is really considered to be a true art form when it comes to copywriting. And the reason for that is really because sometimes depending on the email service provider that your readers are using, subject lines can start to get truncated or cut off at that 60-character length. And it can differ between the provider. So the 40 to 50 is a general rule of thumb there. And you want it to be as specific as possible because you want people to know exactly what they're going to get out of that newsletter. And really, because that's your one shot to get them to click on it or read it through it further, you want to really tell them what they're going to get out of it. So another best practice is obviously to use a call to action in your subject line. So people tend to respond a little better when you actually ask or tell them what to do. You know, if there's something there that really you want to take action on, then if it again leads to the fact that you're being very specific and to the point as to what they want to do. So they'll maybe read your email a little bit more that way. And then once they get into reading your email, they'll understand exactly what it is you want them to do there. Subject lines phrased as questions can perform really well. You know, when you're doing this, you just want to consider your audience's needs, interests, or types of questions that your content might answer. You know, if you, for example, this is a great way to maybe connect with your customer service or support team to see what are those frequently asked questions that are coming in around your products and services, and how you could be using those questions and creating newsletters around those types of questions to really give your subscribers information that they're really looking for. So, you know, avoiding using words that are more commonly flagged by spam filters. I mean, depending on some of the resources you read, sometimes there are differing opinions around certain words, but generally the rule of thumb is to avoid words such as, you know, the act now, a lot of exclamation points. You know, while one exclamation point might be okay, overdoing it definitely is something you should watch. Dollar signs, multiple periods. I'm seeing sometimes now people are throwing in emoticons into their subject lines. It'll just depend on the email service provider as to whether they flag those as spam or not. You know, sometimes free is a word that people say to stay away from. That's actually something that you could definitely test, I think, when you're doing testing on subject lines to see if that's the case. Instead, you could be using things like complimentary, on the house, our treat, something that's maybe a little bit more personable and human rather than just a free. I would say, though, while these are just kind of general rules of thumb, your best course of action is always to run your email through some sort of spam checker, and it'll maybe give you a good idea of what might happen. A lot of the email marketing tools out there actually have spam checkers built into the service itself, so it's not something you necessarily have to go out and find. And then the last tip here is, you know, when appropriate, use timely topics and urgency and top of mind, because sometimes when you're doing a last call or a limited edition or a final sale, sometimes that that urgency and associating a deadline with something will make people act quicker than maybe they would if there wasn't that urgency there. Okay, so those were some of the tips on conversion. Now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about mobile-friendly emails. So I don't know about you guys, but every morning my day kind of starts off a little something like I wake up, I roll over, and before I get out of bed, I reach for my iPhone. The reason why I reach for it is because that's where my alarm is, so I pick it up and I shut it off. But sometimes I'll also have the tendency to kind of get out of bed and also have it in my hand and just do a quick check through of the emails that may have popped up throughout the night, because we're an international-based company, so people are emailing at all times of night. So then I may also check it again while I'm eating breakfast. I'm probably, if I'm stopping for a coffee, I've got it with me while I'm waiting in line and doing another check. While I wouldn't recommend doing this, sometimes I will if there's a lot of traffic on the way to work or I'm at a long stoplight. I'll do another check while I'm driving. But really at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is on average, most people are checking their email 3 or 4 times before they even turn on their computer. And I'm sure you guys probably share a similar routine that I shared here. And in fact, a study conducted earlier this year did show that 43% of email is now open on a mobile device, and that number is actually expected to increase to 50% by the end of this year. So, I mean, it's really not something you can disregard. When 50% of your email database is accessing emails through their mobile device, you really need to make sure that you're thinking out what your strategy is and how you connect with them. So, what do I mean by a mobile-friendly email, just so we're all on the same page? Well, this is an email that displays optimally between a desktop or laptop and a mobile device like a tablet or a smartphone, and ensuring that it will look great regardless of where your customers and prospects read it. I know this may sound complicated, but using a lot of times your email marketing system and the advice and guidance of an email marketing expert like your WSI consultant can make something like this really easy to implement. So if you aren't currently considering how to make your emails mobile friendly, or if you are, then here are just a couple tips to make sure you're considering. The first is be concise as possible in both design and content. I mean, this is really true for any email you write, but even more important when designing your messages for mobile, since the screen real estate on a phone or a mobile device is very valuable. And so you really want to keep that design very clean and simple and focused on the essentials. You'll definitely want to stick to a single column layout. This will keep your readers from having to zoom or scroll across to see everything and make your content much more responsive to all screen sizes. You want to make sure you're using a single clear call to action. Multiple call to actions often makes things a little bit complicated on a mobile device. Just because, I mean, you don't want people scrolling through and having to decide. And for the most part, if people are accessing their emails through their mobile device, they're normally on the go somewhere, and so they don't have necessarily your full attention. Just having them that single clear call to action will help them focus on what they want to do. And you want to make sure that's near the top of your email so that, you know, they're not scrolling all the way through again. You want to make sure you're avoiding tiny fonts so your email can be easily read. Generally, the rule of thumb with mobile and email is a minimum size of 11-point font for body text and 22-point font for headlines. We also recommend, and it is recommended, that with mobile messages that you use a strong contrast of colors. So it could be a dark text on a light background, just because, you know, because people are on the go and they're using their mobile device, they generally could be outside, and so they could be fighting with sunlight as well. And so sometimes it could be harder to read depending on where they are. So a strong contrast of colors will make that easier to read. And again, when it comes to mobile, I would take it a little bit easier on images, only because you're not, depending on the mobile device, they may not render by default. I think Apple's iOS system is built to automatically enable images, but there's other mobile devices that have those turned off initially, which means, again, you can't assume your images are going to be displayed. So you definitely want to make sure your main call to action isn't in an image when it's on mobile. And if you really do need to be using images, then you just want to make sure that you're putting image descriptions associated with those. So if at any point they don't render, then the person reading does get a clear idea as to what content would have been in that image. Okay, so last confession until the bonus one. Number 5, tap into your nurturing side. So email at its core is really about relationship management. I mean, it's really a communication and customer communication tool. Your goal is not only just to capture email addresses for the purpose of building a list, it's also to take that list, nurture it, and turn your contacts into future and reoccurring customers for your business. So why is nurturing so important? Well, let's take a moment to think about how valuable your database could be to your company. And so this is just, these numbers I'm throwing at you are just for the sake of demonstration. Let's say your database consists of 10,000 contacts. I mean, that could be high or low depending on what kind of company you are. And let's say your average customer sale is $100. Again, could be high or low depending on who you are, but these are kind of modest assumptions. That would mean that your database actually represents $1 million asset to your company. So you've actually got potential there and maybe dollars sitting on the table that you may not be connecting with. So how do you take advantage of this additional revenue potential? Well, one way you could be doing it is to create a library of database nurturing content. So the one thing and the ways to be effective with database nurturing requires you to maintain active contact with your subscribers. And so to do that, so it doesn't become labor intensive on you, we recommend that you build a library of content that you can easily pull from on a regular basis. So you're not having to come up with ideas every single time. So this could be customer testimonials. This could be multimedia content that you may have, such as videos or podcasts. This could be, invitations to events such as exclusive shopping sprees or trade shows or seminars. Could be past archived and recorded events. Could be your FAQs that we talked about earlier and working with your customer support channels to find out what those common ones are. It could be, again, just additional ways to connect with your brand via your social media profiles. Product launches, definitely, coupons and vouchers, and just general news about your brand. So those are all things you could be kind of building a library with. So you want to try also to match your content to buyer profiles and purchasing stages. So nurturing really is a process of getting these people to know, like, and trust you more. And the most effective way to do this is to organize your content and distribute it with relevance to them based on their interests. Again, that's where the whole thing of segmentation comes into play. So it's also important to note that there are types of content that tend to work better based on where the customer is in your buying cycle. So, for example, thought leadership. If someone is at the awareness stage, so they're just learning about your company, then content around thought leadership and best practices work best. If someone is really at that research stage, so they're a little bit more interested in the researching your products, or the product and you're one of the companies they're researching, then content around comparisons, reviews, and pricing information will appeal to them a little more. If the person is at the purchase stage, and they've already purchased from you, then more information about your company and definitely more information around support that you offer them or answering those FAQs are definitely something that would resonate with them. Multimedia also is a great way to nurture your database, so including multimedia elements like video, webinars, and podcasts, like I mentioned before, can go a long way where buying resistance is concerned. So, you know, just getting that kind of person over the hump. There's something to be said about actually seeing and hearing the brand as you go through the buying process that makes the customer trust you more and feel more relaxed and more comfortable when purchasing your product or service. So those are the 5 email marketing confessions, but the bonus one is really around, you know, letting your email marketing tool do the work, essentially. And there really are a lot of great email marketing systems out there, so you just want to make sure you select the best one for your business. Your WSI consultant, if you're currently working with one, can definitely help you make this choice if you're not sure where to start, or if you're reevaluating your current marketing system. Here are some things to look at when you are evaluating an email marketing system. You want to make sure the company has a proven reputation within the email marketing field, that they have list building and segmentation features, definitely. That it allows you to easily integrate social media and other conversion tools into your newsletters. That it has really good reporting and testing capabilities, since that's a big part of emails and improving them. That it also possibly has templates and designs for conversion that are easily customizable at your end and maybe already set up to be mobile friendly. That has good deliverability tools and has a good reputation in deliverability. And again, like I said, enables you to be mobile friendly with your messages really easily. So that's it for me. We'll go into questions, but I'll pass it over to Leanna now.
Okay, so before we hit all of your great questions that I saw coming in, for those of you who might not be familiar with our brand or working with a WSI consultant right now, I just wanted to give you some really quick insight into our global team. Essentially, we are just in fact that global, and we touch over 80 plus countries around the globe. We are ultimately focused on providing advanced digital marketing solutions to businesses of all sizes and verticals from all industries. And we obviously operate out of Toronto head office, which we are sitting in right now. So to get to your questions, one of the first questions I saw come in was, do you personally recommend any tools for sending emails?
I mean, personally at my end, we use a specific tool. We do have a number of tools within our marketplace that we recommend. Lyris is a great one if you're doing a lot of email sending. Constant Contact is another great one to be using. They've got a lot of those tools that I mentioned out there. There are a number of tools out there, but you just want to make sure that they have all the right services that you will need to leverage when it comes to establishing what you want to achieve with your marketing campaigns. Again, if you have any, concerns or questions around which one actually works for you, I would definitely point you towards your WSI consultant. They can help you sit down and understand what it is you're trying to achieve and what tool could help you with that. But those are a couple, and there are other ones out there that you could be looking at.
In the same realm of tool discussion, I saw a question come in that said, what spam checker do you recommend?
So essentially, if you just type in email spam checker into Google, a lot pop up. But I do know, just because I'm more familiar with Lyris and Constant Contact, they both have spam checkers built within the tool itself. So if you are using those systems, those are the tools I would recommend using. Otherwise, there are free ones out there, but ideally you use the one within the system because that's the system that's delivering the message for you. So they'll be able to highlight that a little bit better.
Okay, great. Regarding A/B testing, do you send them to the same contacts? I assume it means, do you send the email to the same contacts?
I would actually do it where you have your one list and you split that list up. So you're not sending a duplicate message to the same contacts. You might see an elevation in your unsubscribe if you do that. What I would do is, if you have a list of 1,000, for example, I would take 500 and put them in one list and send them that one message that you want to test, and then I'd send the other message to the other 500 and see how they perform against each other. Just again, we have so many emails that we receive on a daily basis. If we start sending out multiple emails on the same content to your contacts, then they may get a little peeved off with that and unsubscribe instead of taking action on it. So that's what I would recommend doing.
Excellent. A question about segmenting. Are surveys another way to segment your list in order to gather information on what sort of interests they might have?
For sure. I mean, you can always be reaching out to, I mean, you don't necessarily have to capture all of the information on a contact right at the time of subscribe. I mean, sometimes throwing up a lot of fields right at the subscription part can cause people not to fill out the subscription form right away. So things like surveys are a great way to go back out and gather some of those details, and then just making sure that you're able to capture those specific information details within the system and updating their contact details. Some email systems do actually have surveys tools built within that may speak to the system itself and update. So there are ways of doing that. There's also ways of within a system to actually just reconnect and have them update their the information you have for them on file, so that they could fill out some of those more deep details that they may not have done at the initial time. And as you send out emails to them and showing them the different content that you could be sending them, they may be more likely to really specify what they want to see from you, so they can make sure it's relevant to them.
Excellent. Okay, so the next question says, shouldn't the subject line have a limit on the number of words?
Yeah. So general practice, I mean, it's hard to say number of words, but the general rule of practice is 40 to 50 characters, and that includes spacing. So after that, it's generally speaking around the 60 character length that things start getting cut off. So I think that works out to around 5 to 8 words in general is what I would recommend. You don't want to make it too crazy short, because sometimes that will get flagged by spam filters. But you don't want to make it too long either. I mean, if you think you're borderline, then make sure that you're putting the most important information in your subject line, like that action item you want them to do, right at the start of it, so it doesn't get cut off at the end.
Great. The next question, regarding driving conversions, do you think humor might be a little bit tricky since it can be misplaced?
It can be, for sure, and so you really only want to use it in considering who your audience and your customer type is. So, you know, if you're working with a little bit drier of an audience, then maybe humor isn't the way to do it. But generally speaking, most consumers, I mean, will find it nice to see companies being a little bit humor in their approach. It will help them stand out, but there is tactful ways of doing it. You want to make sure it's tactful, and you don't want to overuse it because it will become gimmicky. So I wouldn't necessarily do it in every single email message or all the way throughout your email message, but you could place it here and there, definitely, to kind of humanize that voice a little bit more.
Excellent. Another interesting question that just came in is, do you have any particular advice for small services-oriented companies? For example, companies who do not sell products but are service-based.
Any specific advice? I guess with regarding to how you would use email marketing. I mean, again, email marketing isn't just generally meant for selling your services. there's always a brand loyalty aspect to whatever customer you're working with. I mean, regardless of the company you are, you obviously have a customer base, and there's a specific type of action that they want to take with your brand. So whether it's, whether you're just sending out newsletters and all you're doing is providing them with newsletters, then definitely email's the perfect thing for that. Or whether you're a knowledge base or a training company, or for example, if you're a non-for-profit, just keeping your customers updated on your progress and what you're doing as a company is very important. So that you always keep top of mind, and that there's always a loyalty there, and they understand what it is you're doing and why they want to hear from you and why they want to be a part of your list. If you have a specific question around a certain company, definitely put that in, and maybe I can get a little bit more specific.
Okay, great. We'll see if they get back to us with that information. But the next question is, what statistics should email marketers be looking into post-launch?
For sure. You want to take a look at overall response rates. So that includes your open rates. That includes your click-through rates. That includes your unsubscribes as well. So open rates would be just general, like how many people actually opened your message. And then it's really the click-through rates that you kind of want to take action on and see how many people are actually clicking in on what you're trying to drive them to through your email. So generally speaking, if you are selling a product, you're probably trying to drive them to a specific landing page where that product is being sold. So you'll want to see what link that they're actually clicking on the link within your newsletter, and then on the other end of that, you want to be tracking your conversion rates on the landing page. And if you actually make the landing page unique to the email campaign that you're running, then you can actually correlate how many people are clicking onto that landing page, and then how many of those, once they hit the landing page, are converting, and kind of equate that to the success of the email that you sent out.
Okay, great. So there are actually a number of questions still coming in. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get to all of them right now. So, next slide.
Sure. Do we only have time? Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, the webinar, for more insight into email marketing, again, if you have any questions that we didn't get to touch on today, our book discusses email marketing solutions very much in depth and other digital marketing practices that WSI provides. So you're invited to check that out. It covers the 12 things every business needs to know about digital marketing, and it is available on all of these major retailers. So you can check it out on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Chapters, Indigo, and of course Friesen Press. The quick link here that we've provided at the bottom of the screen is bit.ly/WSI Digital Minds book. So that's an easy link for you guys to access. Again, thank you all very much for attending. Cheryl, thank you for running a great webinar. Of course, we are always looking for your feedback, and there's a survey that allows you to do exactly that. And you can let us know what you thought of today's content. You can access this via bit.ly/post-WSI webinar survey-October 2013. And we also have a complimentary email marketing guide. So this is actually, as a thank you for joining us today, this is a supplementary marketing guide that will give you a little bit more in-depth insight into the best practices of email marketing and how to boost the deliverability of any of your email marketing campaigns. So again, anything here that we've discussed today, you can forward any questions that you might still have on the back of your mind regarding email marketing to your WSI consultant. And of course, we're going to have another complimentary webinar as a part of our monthly series next month. So you can stay tuned for any updates regarding that at getwsipower.com. So thank you everybody for joining us, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Great, thanks guys. Really appreciate you taking the time to listen in on email marketing today.